Hi guys, in this video we're doing something really interesting. We're building an email verifier tool. So if you search for email verifier tool on Google, you get all these different options, right? Hunter.io, Snowf.io, Zero Bounce, Never Bounce. And all these tools, like let's say if you open up Snowf.io and if you open up email address verifier, all these tools are quite expensive, and some of them even say that, well, it didn't check in real time, right? They try to sound really fancy, but what's happening here is really straightforward. There's nothing fancy happening there. Only in some tools, like let's say Hunter.io, they use a little bit of machine learning here and there to determine basically to make the tool even better and more enhanced. But otherwise, most of them are just using very simple tools to create an email verifier tool. So if you wanted to, you could simply take this program that we'll build right now, and you can just launch your own email verifier tool if you want to. I mean, completely optional. All right. So we'll use GOlang, nothing fancy. We won't have bulk verification ability right now in this program. It's very simple. You can extend the functionality of this program to include bulk checking as well. And in the future, a few weeks from now, I'll actually build a complete, like a complete solution for email verification. All right, so this is just a precursor. This is a very simple program that we're building right now. But a few weeks from now, I'll build a complete project around it. All right, where you can also do bulk checking, and there'll be a few more checks. Right now, we're doing a couple of checks, but there'll be a few more checks. All right, so let me show you how the program is going to work. I'm now in my terminal, and what I'll do is I'll start the program. And mind you, this program is super simple, so it won't take us more than 20-25 minutes to actually build this whole thing, right? It's very, very straightforward. So if you go run main.go, it shows you these options. It says that when you enter a domain name right now, it'll give you the domain name's name, and it'll check for MX records, SPF records, if it has any SPF records. If it does, then it'll give you the SPF records. If it has any DMARC records, then it'll give you the DMARC records, all right? And by checking these, then we'll know if the domain is at least right from which that email ID is come, or from to which you have to send the emails to, right? You'll just check the domain if it even has any MX records. So that's like the first stage, the first check of any email looking up, or any email verification, that checking if that domain name even has an MX record, an SPF record, or a DMARC record, right? So that you can know at least, there are MX servers set up there, a mail server set up there. All right. So here, let's say you write mailchimp.com. So this is like a irony, because these guys help people send emails, and we're building a tool using their website to check if they have any valid, email records. So let's enter that. It'll take a while, because MailChimp has done a lot of clever things to, not respond in a straightforward manner. So it'll say that the request has timed out, right? It says this operation returned because the timeout period expired, but it'll still give you the right records. It'll give you mailchimp.com, which is the domain. Does it have MX record? It says yes, true, it does. Does it have SPF records? False. So that means SPF records, you can see there's a blank here. That means since there's no SPF records, it won't return the SPF records, obviously. Does it have DMARC? It'll say true. And DMARC records, these are the DMARC records, all right? So now you know that MailChimp.com is a valid email. It's like emails have been set up on this record, and now you can start looking for the names of the people and then actually finding email addresses of those people if you wanted to, right? Like I said, a few weeks down the line, we'll build the entire product. Right now, we're just building like just telling people if the email is real or not. Just like something like, this tool out here called Email Hippo. You write something like, akhil@mailchimp.com. And the first thing it's going to check is what we just checked right now. Does it have MX records, SPF records, or DMARC records? If it doesn't, it'll just say that this email address is not valid. Obviously, because the domain itself is not valid, right? Domain itself does not have any MX record set up. But here in this case, it'll say true, because in our case also it returned true. So I'm not sure if this is, so it's saying the result is bad because yes, the email address does not exist, but probably it's saying that this exists, but this email on this person on this domain does not exist, something like that, right? So anyways, you get the picture of what we're building, and now let's start building it. Like I said, there's no external library used here. We're just using like the basic GOlang packages that you get. So if you know even basic GOlang, if you just completed the GOlang tour, even if you don't know that actually, you can still complete this project. So this is like a simple like a beginner level project. So feel free to follow along with me. All right. Now, since this is a beginner level project, I won't explain a lot of things. There's not much to explain anyways. I won't explain a lot of things. Feel free to code along with me. If you don't understand anything, look it up on the internet or put it in the comments below. I'm always there to help you out, right? But it'll be really simple, right? So there's nothing complicated here. We're not using Go routines. We're not using channels. We're not using even structs. We're not using interfaces, nothing like that. It's just like plain simple GoLang. All right, so let's get started. What I now want you to do is open up your new terminal and traverse to the path where you usually keep your GoLang code and create a new directory. Let's say like email checker tool. CD into it and open up using your favorite code editor. In my case, it's VS Code. And here, there's not much in this project, right? It's just main.go. So you'll start with package main. You'll import some things. Obviously, we'll talk about them in a while. And then there's your func main, right? The most important function in any GoLang program. Func main basically calls another program called func check domain. All right. And this function just takes in a domain. So essentially, all you're entering that you just saw in the demo, all you're entering is the domain name, right? So that domain name basically gets parsed from our terminal using func main. Something we'll write in our func main. We'll parse it and we'll just push it or send it to our check domain function, which will do all the magic. All right. The packages that I need here, I need Verifier, the buffer package to be able to parse whatever I put in the terminal. I need fmt to print out stuff, log as well. Need a net package to make those requests, OS and strings. Okay. Once we'll use these packages, it'll make more sense to you why we're using it. So firstly, you'll create a variable called scanner. And you'll use the Verifier package. And there's a function called new scanner that you'll use, okay? And here you'll say printf. And the things that we're printing out when the program started will be basically domain has mx has SPF. And if it has SPF, then it'll show you the SPF records. Then it'll check it has demarc. And then it'll check for demarc record. Okay. So if you remember, when we started the program, it just showed us these things so that we come to know in the order in which the information will be shown to us. Okay. So it's exactly the same thing. And now for you to scan the information, you'll use scanner.scan function. And you'll, so let's say if there are multiple items to be scanned, now I know I said that there's no bulk uploading, as in bulk checking, but you can check like a few, emails. But when I say bulk checking, I mean like uploading big CSVs of thousands of records and then checking them in one go, right? That's what we don't have. But like multiple checking is there, all right? I hope that makes sense. So you have scanner.text. So whatever was typed by you in the PowerShell or in the terminal is now basically sent to the check domain function one by one. So multiple domains, if you want to, or just a single domain mostly. I have tested only on single domain, so please, if there are problems working with multiple domains, then it's only because I've not tested it. I've just tested it with single domain. So start the program and just put a single domain like mailchimp.com, like I showed you in the demo. So it just works perfectly fine for that. I've tested only for that. And then we have, like I said, this is not a production level software, right? I said like you can put it on your website as a small, simple, free email checker tool, but don't like charge people for it because you don't have the complete architecture required for it to be a complete production software, right? I hope that's clear. Because I get strange comments sometimes, so that's why I just clarify all these things. So to log out the error, now if there's an error, obviously, then we're just logging out the error. So the error is could not read from input, comma, error. So if you notice, all that we have done in the func main is just pick up or scan the user's input from the terminal, all right, the domain name that you've put. And if it's not able to scan it properly, whatever domain name that you put is going to say could not read from input, right? It's going to print out an error. And what we're sending to this check domain function is the text and that whatever you've posted in the terminal. And now the check domain is the part where which is basically the meat of this entire program, because this function will have all the logic required to actually check those records. Okay. So firstly, we'll define some variables. So the first variable will be has mx, has spf, has dmark. All of these are Boolean. Then we'll have the spf record. I mean, if it has an spf record, then we'll show the spf record, right? Like in our case, when we did a demo with MailChimp, there was this was false, so that's why we didn't have any spf record. It was blank. And if there's an demarc tool, like we did for MailChimp, we had a demarc tool. We'll have remark record here, and it'll be a string. All right. Now all we're doing here basically is using the net package to firstly look up the mx. So the net package already gives you the ability to look up the mx of the domain that you just sent here. Domain is that string that we're passing to this function, all right? And whatever comes back from this function, we capture in a variable called mx records. And this function, if there's anything that goes wrong, it will also return an error. And now you're getting these squiggly lines because you've defined all these variables, but you've not used it, right? So what we'll do now is we'll say if error not equal to nil, this error basically we'll handle on this line. So log dot printf error %v, comma, error. And we'll also check for length mx records greater than 0, as mx is equal to true. So you looked up the mx for the domain using the net package, and there's a function called lookup mx that you get in that net package, and you got the mx records, or optionally you must have got the error. So if you got the error, which means error not equal to null, you'll just print out the error. And if you got back the mx records, then you'll check if the length of the mx records is greater than 0. Obviously if it's greater than 0, that means that this domain has mx records. So we'll set mx is equal to true, has mx is equal to true. Okay, so this has been used. Now comes the txt records, which are your SPF records. Okay, so we'll use net.lookup txt package. So here, I want you to observe how easy these kind of things are with a language like GOlang. If you want to do the same with Node.js, for example, you'll have to use an external npm, right? Something like that. I mean, I'm a Node.js user. I've been using it since many years now. I have built multiple products with Node.js. So I should have nothing against Node.js, but actually I do. So I do have a lot against Node.js, because to do something as simple as this, you have to do a lot. You have to do a lot of bending. In case you know a better way to do this with Node.js, do reply in the comments and do share it with me. I don't know, but with GoLang it's super simple, right? You don't have to install any external package. There's all these are the standard GoLang packages that you're using right now. And that's insane, right? A language that has so much support out of the box is just killer. That's why it's the language I use the most right now. So here also you'll look up the text records, which are basically your SPF records, right? So if similarly you'll check for the error. So if you'll say if error not equal to nil, then you'll do something here. So you'll say log dot printf error %v /n, error, and then what you'll do is you'll range over these records. So by ranging over, if you're very new to GoLang, I basically mean like using a for loop to go over all the values. Okay, so we'll go over the text records, and the right syntax for that is for and record. So this is going to be your iterator, and this is going to be your every single value that you'll have access to with the help of range records. So inside your text records, you'll range over them, and every single value inside that text records, you'll have access to it using this variable called record. And here you could have used the iterator like I or j or something like that. But since we don't want to use it, we'll put a blank character here, because in GoLang, you can't just define something and then not use it. Okay, that's why you have to use blank characters. So here we'll use the strings package provided by GoLang again by default, and you'll use the record. Record is basically every single value, like I told you, from this text records. Once you range over it, every single value can be accessed using record. So we're passing strings.hasPrefix. In that function, we're passing the record. And we're checking if this it has been represented like this. So usually the SPF records in your text records, right, all your TXT records, in that you want to find or search the SPF1 records, okay, if the way they're represented. So if you go to your, let's say, your GoDaddy or your Namecheap, you'll see that you have these TXT records, and they will look like this. They'll have like a V is equal to SPF1. And so you'll obviously set the SPF has SPF is equal to true, and then you'll also have your SPF record, which will be set equal to the record now. And then you'll just break away from this program. So a few minutes into the program, we have already checked for the MX records and SPF records. All we now need to check for are the DMARC records. Now to check for the DMARC records, we will again use the net dot look up txt, but we'll check for DMARC plus the domain. Domain again is that same variable that was passed into this function. And here we'll say DMARC records, error. So whatever's coming back from this function, the function is lookup text that you have already used. In the net package, you're passing domain plus the DMARC record to check if you're looking up the DMARC records using the same function. And whatever you're getting back, you're either getting an error or you're getting the DMARC records. So we'll check for the error. So if error not equal to nil, say log.printf and we'll print out the error. And otherwise, we'll range over the DMARC records. To do that, you have to follow the same kind of a syntax. And here you have to say if strings dot has prefix record comma v is equal to dmark 1. So you're following the same method process. There's no change here. All right, same process, and here instead of record SPF1, we are saying dmark 1. And if it does, then we'll say has dmark has become equal to 2, true, and dmark record value is equal to the record value, and then you break away. And at the end, you'll just print out all the results. Right, so you have to use the printf method. And to print out the values, so you'll say, I'll put the percentages later on, the percentage v's later on. The values that I want to print out to the terminal are domain has mx, has SPF. I have this reference, right? Domain has mx, has SPF, all these. This was just text, and here we're actually pushing out, like printing out those values, but in the same order. SPF record, comma, has dmark, comma, dmark record. So how many v's do we have to put here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we'll say percentage v, comma, percentage v, comma, percentage v, comma, percentage v, comma, percentage v. So it's 5 now, and then the last one is 6. So 6 percentage v, and this whole function is complete. Now all we have to do is test this function, and we know that we'll get some errors, and then we have to solve those errors, and everything will work. To actually find the errors and see if it's working, we'll have to actually run it on our terminal. So here I'll say go run main.go. And as you can see, it's working. So I'm surprised that there are no errors. It's working. Everything's working fine. Let's try entering mailchimp.com again. I've tried it with many of the websites like MailChimp and SendGrid, Sendinblue, all of those main big email sending tools. You can try more domain here. Actually, any domain you try, you can try it here. So this, as you know, the request will time out after a while, and then we'll get those results. And if it doesn't give you any results, then that means there's some error with our program. But I'm hoping it'll give some output. Yeah, so we have got that output that timeout period expired, and then you get your .com true, false, true, and you get the dmarked records. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this program, this project. This is a very small, simple project, but obviously it's a nice flex. You can flex in front of your friends. you built like an email verifier tool, all right? So all the things that we build here, you can actually use in your life. If you want to check if somebody is sending you, if you want to check if, what could be the email of a particular person, you can check using this. As in, you can verify if that email is legit or not based on their domain name. So I hope you enjoyed this, and do subscribe to this channel so that you come to know about such awesome content, and you can build such awesome tools with me. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next project series. Do leave if you have any special requests. Do leave in the comments below if you want me to build something, and we'll do that. Okay. Thank you. I'll see you.